morning I got up and I got ready quickly because I had a lot of stuff to get done. So I went and I sat at my desk, started working on what I needed to get done, and I spilled my coffee. So I went to the kitchen, I got a sponge, and I started to clean it up. And then I thought I'd take a couple of extra minutes just to clean the whole desk because a clean desk would really help me get my stuff done. After I was finished, I realized I hadn't eaten anything. So I went into the kitchen and I was out of cereal. When I got to the grocery store, I remembered several other things that I needed to get, and I figured, well, I was already there, so I might as well do my grocery shopping for the week. So I didn't have to worry about it while I was getting my stuff done. When I got home, I didn't feel like cereal anymore, so I made an omelet. After I made the omelet, I washed the dishes because I didn't want to have to worry about washing the dishes while I got my stuff done. And then I went to the hardware store to get some oil because my desk chair has been squeaking, and I didn't want to be distracted by a squeaky chair while I was trying to get my stuff done. When I got home, it was getting kind of late, and I realized I didn't have enough time to get my stuff done today, so I just watched some TV before coming here to Toastmasters. But I really need to make sure that I go to bed early tonight because I want to be well rested for tomorrow because I need to get my stuff done. How many of you can relate to this kind of a story? Everybody deals with procrastination. Procrastination is particularly interesting because it involves putting off something, knowing full well that if we could just buckle down and do it, we would be much better off. Did you know that Americans waste hundreds of millions of dollars every year because they don't file their taxes on time? 70% of glaucoma patients risk blindness, because they don't use their eye drops regularly. What about you? What are some things that you've been procrastinating in your life? Maybe it's making an appointment at the doctor's. Maybe it's a list of chores that have been piling up. Maybe it's writing a speech for Toastmasters. I'm just kidding. I know nobody would ever procrastinate writing a speech for Toastmasters. Procrastination, most people engage in procrastination because the task itself is unpleasant or overwhelming. And they think that by putting it off, they just are basically putting it off because they don't want to deal with that unpleasantness. But by indulging in procrastination, it doesn't actually result in more happiness. In fact, if you're anything like me, the more I procrastinate, the more stressful the task becomes. It might start off as a small task, but then it just grows and becomes bigger, scary, and more menacing, and I just want to put it off even more. But the bigger it gets, the more guilty I feel, the more I put it off. Does this happen to you all too? So despite the stress and the guilt that procrastination can cause, we still find ways to procrastinate. We still find those excuses. How many times have you said to yourself, I'll just do that tomorrow. I'll have more energy then. Or I'll have more time this weekend, so I'll put it off until then. But when tomorrow rolls around, when the weekend rolls around, do you get a sudden urge to complete those tasks? No. Procrastination is something that everyone deals with, and it's something that I particularly struggled with when I was in grad school. After I'd finished my coursework, I had to focus on writing a dissertation. And that was particularly difficult for me because there are no deadlines. There are no milestones. If I wanted to finish, if I wanted to graduate, it really fell on my shoulders. So I had to learn how to deal with or how to conquer procrastination, at least from time to time. One of the things that I have learned to do, and I think is very helpful, is whenever I have a big task, like writing a dissertation, I try and break it down into smaller, more manageable pieces. So I would never sit down and say, I'm going to write a dissertation or even a section. Most days, writing a page was biting off more than I could chew. So I would focus on smaller pieces, such as one day I would say to myself, all right, Jen, how about you just read this article and write a summary? And I think, that's not so bad. I can do that. And then maybe the next day, I'd just write an outline of thoughts. I wouldn't even write anything, just organize my thoughts. It's not so scary. I can do that. And so by focusing on those smaller pieces, I was actually able to chip away at the larger task at hand, and was actually able to finish my dissertation. This notion or this approach of breaking things down into smaller, more digestible pieces is something that I use in my day-to-day life too. For instance, writing a speech for Toastmasters. Sometimes sitting down and saying, I'm going to write a whole speech. It's kind kind of overwhelming to me. I am still a beginner. So rather than doing that, I'll try and break it down into smaller pieces. One day maybe I'll just come up with an idea, even if it is just one word. I'll give myself a little pat on the back. Good job. And then maybe the next day, I'll think of what are some stories that I can tell, or maybe what are some quotes that correspond with the topic. And so slowly I kind of piecemeal different ideas and different thoughts together, and I'm able to create an entire speech. I even use this concept of breaking down tasks when I need to go to the gym and I need to get off the couch. I'll try and tell myself, all right, just go put the clothes on. Go put your gym clothes on. And if that's too big of a task, I start with, just put the remote down. Baby steps, baby steps. So breaking things down into smaller pieces is something that that has been very helpful to me in battling procrastination. And there are several other things you can do. You can let death scare you, or you can use a vision and envision where you want to go and find motivation in that. The next time that you find yourself procrastinating a task, whether it's going to the gym, writing a speech, or some other unbearable task, try breaking it down, or try some of the techniques that you even heard this morning in introductions. Because the thing is, there are a million ways to waste a day, but there's no way to get that day back.